Hey everyone, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. So one of my favorite things about the retro handheld gaming community is the fact that everybody is so helpful and so collaborative. I've only been around for a few months, but I've had so many people help me along the way. And so I got together with a couple YouTubers that I really admire, MashTec and MoreTexer, and I said, hey guys, we should get together and make a video of our own where we're kind of talking about the same topic together on a single video. So we went back and forth and tried to figure out a good topic to do, and we ended up landing on this idea of our top 5 retro games. And the idea here is each of us takes the 5 most influential games from the retro era and we showcase them here on this channel. So we had to figure out a couple ground rules first. And so our first rule was that it had to be playable on a retro handheld device. So one of these devices we always talk about, it had to play on that. Next, it had to be limited to 5th generation, which is PS1 games and below. And then finally, we wanted to do 1 minute per game. We didn't want to make this like a 45-minute long video, and so we said, let's try to crunch this down as quickly as possible so that way everyone sees our different perspectives on everything. So without any further ado, let's get started. I'm going to have the other two start first, and then I'll do mine after that. So we'll start with MashTec first. Now MashTec was really helpful to me when I first got started. When I first got my RG350, I didn't really know how to use it at all. And his videos were the ones that I used to kind of figure out, hey, this is how this thing works. And not only that, it inspired me to start my own YouTube channel and website as well. So big kudos to MashTec, but I'll let him take it from here.
Hey Russ, it's MashTec here. You asked me for my top 5 retro games, and it really took me some time to pick up only 5 games from all my favorites for this list. I wanted the list to reflect those games that I think had a significant impact to my retro gaming past and that are games that I still love to play nowadays. I have my top 5 games here on my RG350M and my RG351P, so I can also share some footage of gameplay with you. Enjoy! My list starts with Commander Keen. Commander Keen in Goodbye Galaxy was the first PC game I owned. And since I'm born in 1981, Billy, the main character of the game, was almost my age when the game was released. I felt like being this little boy saving the galaxy while his parents are out, running and jumping around with his pogo stick and shooting aliens on the way through the levels. That was just a great thing for me. I spent hours in the levels to reach like every corner of it and find every single place. I can say this game kinda raised my passion for jump and run games. And another cool thing is that Commander Keen has this in-game game called Paddle Wars, a remake of the very first video game ever called Pong, where you smash this ball around from one side to the other with a disc. You know that game. That's why Commander Keen made it to my top 5. The next title on my list, so ranked number 4, is Golden Axe for the Sega Genesis. I used to play this game with a good friend for weeks when I was a young boy. Since I didn't own a Sega Genesis myself, I came over every afternoon to play some at his house and we tried to beat up Death Adder together. Since every character in Golden Axe has its strength either in combat or magic damage, we always found a good combo to fight ourselves through the levels. We felt like heroes when we fought together on the back of a turtle shell or an eagle. We love to play beat 'em up games like Street of Rage or Double Dragon, but Golden Axe was the one that we had most fun with. The fighting combos were easy to apply, and collecting those magic potions to cast heavy magic spells to the enemies was just another cool feature of the game. So for all the fun I had those days for co-op gaming together with my friend, I put Golden Axe to rank number 4. On rank number 3, I put Monkey Island 2, LeJuck's Revenge for the PC. This was the most addicting game to me. When I made my first experience with click and point adventures, this one became my favorite besides Sam & Max Hit the Road and Day of the Tentacle. If you love click and point adventures, you will love Monkey Island for its sound, the music, the story, and the beautiful and graphical attention for detail. And for sure for that great humor in the game. The puzzles are sometimes really challenging, but this is what kept up my attention for the game and makes it such an addicting title. On my rank number 2, I set a classic, Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation. My favorite number 1 ever in adventure or role-playing games. Everybody played it, everybody talked about it, and I never played any other title again that came any close to the story, music or in-game atmosphere. Maybe it was based on the 3D graphics or the cinematic scenes within the game those days, or the great mixture of story gameplay and fighting scenes, but from the first second on, I felt like being part of the game, and in fact that I never felt again in any other game. Finally, I come to the #1 retro game of all time for me, Diablo 1. I don't know how many months of lifetime and mices I spent into this game, but it was a lot. I guess I destroyed about 3 mices until I beat Diablo for the first time, because 90% of the time in the game you just hit the mouse button like a zombie. Leveling up your playing character, learning spells and increasing your skills was just addicting. And the chance to find magical items that improve your skills and damage even further kept me playing this game for years. The multiplayer experience of this game was something I enjoyed very much with friends, playing in a local area network over nights. Diablo 1 was the start into a great series of up to 4 titles now, and it's just glad to see on how many platforms you're still able to play Diablo 1 nowadays. So this was my top 5 retro games. I know this is not just a list of classic games, but games that I personally spend a lot of time with and have a personal relationship to. I covered these games on purpose in hope that my list has the one or the other game on it that may now have caught your attention to look into in case you didn't know about it. Thank you, Russ, for the challenge to add my top 5 list here together with you guys. It was also a great experience to me to sit down and think about my top 5 retro games of all time. It brought back some good memories of childhood times to me. If you're interested in retro gaming, especially on retro gaming handhelds, feel free to take a look around on my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
So next up we have Mortexer, and I really liked his videos when they first started coming out because he did these really great reviews on the Retroid Pocket 2 and the RG350 where he was unbiased and kind of told his thoughts, what he liked and what he didn't like, and that kind of inspired me to do the same with my own channel as well. So I'll let him take the floor here and talk about his top 5 games now.
So Russ from Retro Game Co gave me the challenge of picking my favourite top 5 retro games all the way up to PS1. Now this was no easy challenge by any means. I spent the last couple of weeks trying to think of what I would put in it, what games, what consoles, what era, but I think I've actually done it. Now mine is going to be a bit different. It's not going to be a 1 to 5 top tier to the lowest tier. It's more about games that I actually really cherish and I've got memories from in my childhood. #1 spot, we are going to give a #1 spot to one game, but you will have to watch this video to find out. So let's get cracking straight away. When you think of Konami, you don't really think of sports games, right? Well, I spent many hours with my buddies playing 4-player trying to get as many goals as possible in Track and Field International. Yes, PlayStation, you could have 4 players if you had something called a multi-tap. Now, if you don't know what that is, go and check it out because it did sort of revolutionize multiplayer on the PS1, so you could have more people playing than just 2 players. And I've still got that today, and when my buddies come around, we still hook it up. Each of my friends had their own technique because at the end of the day, the game relies on one thing and one thing only: quickly pressing circle and square as quick as possible, because that's your momentum buttons and speed. And let's just say there were a lot of different techniques which led to plenty of blisters and sore fingers. Now this basically is what it says on the box. It's an Olympic game. You get various events that you can see here. What the aim of the game was to try and beat your buddies on it, or if you're playing single player, try and come first and beat the world record. And I've got to say, on rainy days I had so much fun at playing this. It was always a great game where we could get my buddies round, play it, and before you know it, we'd be so competitive, shouting at each other. We'd come away with blisters all over his fingers because we're trying new and silly different techniques. I'm going to put this game in there because this is one of my fondest memories as a child. So we're moving on to Future Cops, developed by EA Redwood Shores. That's right, EA were not only known for producing hit sports games back in the day. This was published in 1998, and I've got to say, for one of the very few games where EA have actually diversed and moved off focusing on something different apart from sports games, I absolutely loved this game. It is a little gem. If you've never played it, I would highly recommend giving it a go. It's pure carnage fun. I mean, it's nonsenseless fun. You don't really have a story behind it. So if you like something to run and gun and just want to take a bit of stress out, I would highly recommend checking this one out. Now, as I said all the way through this, we're doing top 5, but for me, I'm not rating them really 1 to 5. The last one, I think, deserves to be at number 1, but the rest of them, I'm not rating, so they're just in any order. So the next one is Tony Hawk Pro Skater number 2. Before this game came out, I didn't really know much about skating or rock or punk music. Well, let me tell you, that changed everything. This is one of my all-time favourite skating games because it packs so much into the game and was one of the first where I could create myself in a game I had played. Even though the customization, let's say, lacked on that side, it was still amazing to see myself in a game. You could free skate, get them special moves that I know everyone were trying to do. You could also start a career and unlock new game modes and better your skills and even create your own skate park. And I've got to say, and no one will disagree with me on this game has one of the best soundtracks in it by far to date. I mean, this game had everything. I wasn't that good, wasn't that quick on my fingers of getting all the tricks in, but I did have a lot of fun on it. Tony Hawk 1 is good, but then Tony Hawk 2 just literally smashed it. So I want to do some honourable mentions now. I've only had 5 minutes to do this, and I could reel off so many games that I used to love playing as a kid and still love playing them today. So I'm just going to do some really quick honourable mentions. So we've got NFL Blitz. I never really understood American football back in the day. I do understand it now, but my god, I absolutely love playing this game. Knowing that you could just body slam and clothesline to actually get the ball and turn it over. So that's a great one if you've never played it. Do check it out. Any of the NFL Blitz games are amazing. Donkey Kong Country, I spent many hours on this trying to complete it. And when I did, I've got to say the Easter egg is amazing. I'm not going to spoil it, and you'll have to complete the game to find out what it is. And then we've got Crash Bandicoot series. If I could have put all these into the 5. I had pure fun playing these on Christmas Day. Just a great relaxing game to play, and the remastered versions are also really good if you've never checked them out before. The year is 1998. My brother's just picked up King of the Ring 1998 on VHS. Yes, the prime of video cassettes. And I'm just drawn to this gruesomely awesome artwork on a SNES box. The next thing you know, I'm slaying demons with a chainsaw and a shotgun, and it's none other than Doom. Created by ID Software and released on MS-DOS in 1993. Let's just say the rest is history. So with Doom, I absolutely love this game. I was drawn to it. The cover art just drew me to it straight away. I'd never even heard of Doom before this. So I was able to choose a game for my birthday. So what did I do? I chose Doom. So I was playing it, and oh my god, I was drawn to this straight away. My mum came in the bedroom and she was shocked because she couldn't believe what she had bought me because it was so gruesome. But she still allowed me to play it, so I did. What's great as well is it's still alive today. As we can see here, we've got the SNES version and we've got the PC version also, and we've actually got the Retroid Pocket 2 version as well running Project Brutality. So it just keeps coming. Doom is still alive today in 2020, and it first came out all them years ago, which is really nice to see. So I've got to say, this is my number 1 pick. So you may be asking, why haven't I included any Super Mario games, things like that, really popular, well-known games? Well, I did like playing them, but for me, these are my fondest memories of the games I played. The memories I made playing these games will forever last, and there are some great memories that I will hold on to.
Just want to say a massive thank you to Russ for having me on the channel. It's been great doing this, and it's really got me thinking about what actually are my top 5s and what my top 5s will be maybe in the next 10 to 15 years. But as always guys, if you do want to say hi, check out the channel, you know where I'm at. But until next time, stay safe and I'll see you soon.
Okay, so now let's talk about my top 5 retro games of all time. Now, as you can imagine, I'm a very deliberate person. I like to take my time and think through things first, so it took me a long time to come up with these top 5. And like the others, I didn't try to focus on saying, hey, here are the best 5 games of all time. Instead, I wanted to find the 5 that had a personal connection to me. So let's get started. So the number 5 game on my list is Dragon Warrior for the NES. Now, I never actually owned this game, but a friend of mine, he had a subscription to Nintendo Power, and with that subscription, it came a free copy of this game, which was kind of crazy back in the 80s, but that's what happened. Now, this was my very first role-playing game. I had played Zelda, a couple other games like that, but this was my first game that had turn-based action as far as battles. It had hit points, you could level up, all of these things that I never had experienced before. This was my first experience. And so I would go over to his house on the weekends, and we would play it together and try to figure out where the map was, what to do next. We would fight these slimes, and then we would level up and then be able to fight golems eventually, things like that. And I would say within a month of us getting together every weekend and playing through this game, we finally beat it. And it was just such an experience to me, because it wasn't like a single sit down. We actually went through and played it together, took our time, tried to figure out secrets on the map and things like that. It was just an awesome experience. So that's my number 5 game. So the number 4 game on my list is Disney's Aladdin on the Sega Genesis. Now, I actually stopped playing video games after the Genesis era. I didn't own a PS1, and I got a PS2 much later in the life cycle of that one as well, and so I have a long gap of where I didn't play video games at all, really. And this was one of the last games I played before I kind of started that gap. And so because of that, I have such fond memories of this game, being the fact that it was one of the later games I played. And I thought it was such a thoughtful game. I loved the little mini games that you had within it. You could play as a Boo for a mini game, and I thought that was always kind of neat. I always felt like the way that this game looked captured the feel of the movie much better than most video game adaptations for movies. And there was all sorts of little Easter eggs which I thought were kind of fun. You could make Iago's feathers fall off. Things like that were always kind of fun and cool to me. And so this is why this is my number 4 game of all time. Now, number 3 is actually Sonic 2, and I had Sonic 1, 2, and 3, but I thought Sonic 3 was too busy, there was too much going on with it, and I thought Sonic 1 was a little bit too bare bones. But Sonic 2 hit all the right buttons for me. It was pretty complex. You had that spin dash, you could hit down and then the run button, and it would make you go and spin in place first, and so it just felt like a lot faster of a game. There were a lot of cool Easter eggs and stuff like that, which was always great for me on the weekend where I've only had a few games to play, and I would just try to dig as much as possible into a single game. I love the mini games, the challenge maps they had in order to get all of the Chaos Emeralds. I always thought that was kind of fun. The boss battles were pretty easy, but some of them got hard later on in the game. And then also, after you got all the Chaos Emeralds, you would turn yellow and you could be like the Super Saiyan version of Sonic. And I always thought that was really cool, and it reminded me of Dragon Ball Z. So that's why this one is my number 3 game of all time. I'm going to cheat a little bit for my number 2 game of all time, and I'm going to start talking with Street Fighter 2. Now, when I first saw this game came out in the arcades in 1992, I was blown away. The fact that you had just this one-on-one fighting kind of construct was just amazing to me. The graphics were incredible, and I think like everybody, I spent my first money using Blanca as my character because I thought he would be cool since he was actually a monster. Turns out he sucks. But that was just part of this whole gameplay experience to me, was to have these fighting games. And then the Championship Edition came out, which allowed you to play as the bosses, which I always thought was super crazy. And then Super Street Fighter 2 came out, and it added 4 more characters, so that was a really big deal to me back in the day. But all that changed the day that I saw Mortal Kombat. Something about this game just really changed things for me. Number one, the animation, the stop motion kind of character thing was really, really compelling to me because it felt so lifelike. And I have to admit, the blood and stuff was just so cool to me when I was 12 years old. And so this game in particular, in the arcades, Mortal Kombat, just changed things for me. It was such an important game to me, and I was just one of those kids that was super drawn to it. And the first time I saw somebody pull off a fatality, you can imagine, I had never heard of this before, right? There was no internet, there was no one talking about this, and all of a sudden I saw somebody rip someone else's head off, right? And it was just crazy. Or when Scorpion burned somebody to a crisp. All these fatalities and these special moves and stuff were just so crazy to me that it just had such a lasting memory on me. And to this day, this is one of my favorite games to play, Mortal Kombat 1 on the original arcade. And honestly, I feel so lucky that we have this ability to play this game on retro handheld devices, because it's just like reliving those dreams I had when I was 12 years old. Okay, so let me set the stage for my number one game of all time. In 1985, when I was 5 years old, my parents got us the Nintendo Entertainment System Deluxe set. This included Gyromite with Rob the Robot, as well as Duck Hunt with the Zapper. Now, at the time, this was the coolest thing in the world. But then Mario 1 came out, and I saw that my neighbors and friends had Mario 1 instead of these two games. And I always kind of envied that, because I never had a true platformer on the original NES in the early stages of this life cycle. Now cut forward 2 years later, and Super Mario Bros. 2 comes out, and we got it right when it came out. And this became the most influential and the funnest game I had ever played in my life the moment it came out. It was just so weird, right? You could play as Toad or any of the other guys, and you're pulling up these crops, and you're basically murdering these animals with vegetables, and you're going onto these dream state, like alternate universes to pick up mushrooms. It was just such a crazy game to me, and such a leap forward from Mario 1. I remember first reading about this game in Nintendo Power, and it was just so amazing to see that this game came to life. To me, this was such lifelike graphics and so incredible. I loved the slot game where you could earn extra powers, you know. I loved finding little secrets. For example, with Luigi, I could go and jump high places that you weren't supposed to be able to get to. Like, these little Easter eggs and these little kind of puzzles within the game were so compelling to me. And I loved playing as Princess because she could just float across all of the enemies and just kind of hover above everything. And I thought that was so cool. And the graphics and the enemies and everything was so unique. So when I got my first retro handheld system, the first thing I did is tried to figure out how to play the Famicom Disk System so I could play the original Doki Doki Panic game and see exactly what this game used to be like in Japan before they converted it over for Mario 2. And so this was just one of those really cool moments where I'd heard about this game as a child, and then I was finally able to actually play it thanks to these retro handheld game devices. Alright, so that's my top 5. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, it was a lot of fun to kind of think through why these games were my top 5 and what I liked about them, and I hope you found this entertaining. And I plan on doing more videos like this in the future. Let me know in the comments below what kind of genres you'd like me to see, like top Nintendo games or top platformers or things like that. Let me know what you think, and I'd love to take that into consideration. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And also check out MashTec and More Texer's YouTube channels. I'll leave links for them below. And until next time, happy gaming.